Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. And I am just now realizing that our background is poorly made because you can't see a goddamn thing. That's my fault. Looks good for a thumbnail, doesn't look all that great for a background. So I'll have to change that while we are talking. Yeah, anyway, of course, I am always here joined by Katie. Katie, how you doing?
That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Look,
we're here to talk about Star Wars, y'all.
yes.
We want to be a safe place on the internet, but we just want to clarify: if you're a racist, sexist, son of a bitch, get out of here, please, and thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I will say this because there's tons of people uh giving these like, oh, don't give up type of posts. Um and that doesn't even work either. Jeez. I'm changing the background while we're talking here and this doesn't even work. Oh well, we'll keep it like this. Um
Just put the other one up because it had the title below it.
exactly. There's a lot of people of course throwing a lot of Star Wars gifs and quotes out there. Talking about never giving up when it comes to, of course, what we are referencing, which is the presidential election. Um, and I'm gonna be quite honest with you. And people might see this as a very negative thing. Um, but I am somewhat feeling the same way I am feeling about America, the same way I feel about Lucasfilm. And I think a lot of people are. Um, and I think that it is okay for people to not want to have this, oh, let's never give up, let's bring up hope and all of this other things. Um, because people just aren't ready yet. Um, I am in a sound mind. I'm not going to,
Mm-hmm.
say these really silly things and dangerous things to the point of like people, being fearful of my mental health and everything else. I have a good head on my shoulders. I have a good support system. I have really good friends. And yeah, so if anybody is feeling that, it is okay to feel that way. It is okay to not be okay, is what I always like to say. Um, And with that, I do concur with Katie. If you are a racist, sorry, Katie, this is the one time I'm going to use this word, cunt bag. Okay, thank you for taking off your headphones.
I just
Uh,
don't like that word.
yeah, I know. Um, then you can f right off, and
There's no place for hate here at
yeah,
all whatsoever.
none whatsoever. And also something that has really hurt me uh, the last 24 hours is seeing some true colors to people that I thought I knew. Uh, so yeah, let's just move on from that and move on to possible good talk in tonight's episode. Of course, guys, some highlights of what this episode is going to be about. Of course, if you have clicked on this video and or the podcast, you can tell by the title. This is Padawan's Pride review. We know that this audio original Audible original has been out for quite some time, but this is the only time in the schedule that we could actually fit it in. So we are going to be reviewing that. And due to our interview that we're going to have next week, we're going to have to push the next Audible original that was actually found this week. And we will talk about that. That is a highlight that we are going to be talking about today, as
Well,
well
and the
as,
good thing is that doesn't come out until next Thursday. So
Oh, that is true. So it will actually
positives.
be in line for the episode after that. But some other things that you can look forward to hearing about in this episode is we're going to be discussing Skeleton Crew and its new trailer, as well as some confirmation news stuff that we've seen from encyclopedias, and that's an actually interesting discussion that I want to bring up with Katie, because of course on this podcast Katie is of course our canon queen. Oh, that I love that. I'm that's what I'm gonna call you from now on, Katie. Canon queen within the timeline of Star
What I'm here
Wars.
for.
So we are going to, of course, talk about that as well. So we teased it. We're going to talk about it right now. Um, who actually found this? It says thanks to BHX1138 and Adam Bomber. Another Star Wars Audible original has been discovered. I like how these things are just like people are just stumbling across these things. Um
Yes.
and the
Um,
reason. Oh, well, go ahead. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
it looks like Adam Bomber is the one who found it originally. I'm trying to find his tweet.
Okay.
I
Um.
don't see his tweet anywhere, but maybe he did it on like a podcast or something.
Oh, maybe. Um. I will say this though. The reason why I think this is so funny, um, due to what I do for my job, is I collect metadata for
Hmm.
publishers for comics, and then I post them on our website. And if retailers are just skimming the website, they can just stumble upon some of the stuff that I put on our website. So, like,
Hmm.
I think it's really fun that these people are just like, oh, what's on Audible today? And they're like, holy crap, this is a new thing. I've never seen this before. Um, it is Star Wars The High Republic Seeds of Starlight. It is by George Mann and will release on November 14th. It is featuring on the cover two prominent characters that we already know. I don't recognize the center character though.
We'll talk. We'll talk. So his name is Cam Linden. He was announced, or the artwork of him was published. I was looking this up earlier, and now Wikipedia doesn't want to work. The artwork was published in like May for him. Um,
Okay, okay.
but nobody knew what project he was going to be a part of.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. I remember that like
so this is
random
actually a dis.
character design that showed up out of nowhere, and people were like, "Ooh, I wonder who this
Yeah,
character is for." Okay, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So this character lost his vocal box in an accident as a young kid. So the black line that you see down his throat is actually a vocoder, like what Thorians use to program their voice and like translate in live action. So he's got a vocoder. Um
Interesting.
so it makes sense why he's an Audible original character, because you want to be able to articulate that. And if you just put his words on a page, it's not really going to be quite the
Like,
same
yeah,
as
you can
getting that
always
effect.
describe it. And I think that
Mhm.
with the vocoders, we've seen a lot of that described very well. But I think this is just something that's very fun. Um, I think the High Republic out of and this is just me coming into like, you know, neck deep into the Star Wars fandom that Katie has brought me into. Um, with the Audible books that I have been listening to and the comics and everything else, it really feels like High Republic has taken advantage of every piece of uh uh what's the phrasing that I'm looking for? Uh
Accessibility matrix and
ex- e-
everything.
accessibility entertainment outlet um possible, with now of course uh unfortunately canceled, but you still have it on Disney Plus for now. Acolyte, the books, the audibles, the comics, and stuff like that. So I find that very, very fun. So having this here, just adding this new thing, and people can, possibly call this a gimmick, but having there be a in-story reason for the initiative of High Republic being like, hey, this needs to be an Audible original because of this one character and how he is implemented into the universe. I like that a whole lot. I think that is very fun.
Yeah. And I do, however, have an issue with it being an Audible original. That this means that you can't just purchase this and be done with it. No, like you're kind of stuck with it as because I tried sharing this with my sister, and she does use my mom's access, but she also has her own Audible
Hmm.
account where she like brings it on and off, and she was like, "Man, I can't get this because my Audible account isn't active," so she had to sign into my mom's and stuff. But like, so it has to be like I can't even download this and like save it to my computer. So it's got to be done from Audible, unfortunately. So this means there's not a lot of accessibility if you don't want to use Amazon products or anything. So you're limiting it behind a
A
specific
paywall.
brand,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. And that was something that I wanted to bring up with Padawan's Pride as well, because it is an Audible original. So, like, let's go ahead and get that out of the way here. Like, both books, same policy. Like, I do hope that they bring these scripts or like a novelization aspect
Yeah.
so that people can just purchase it and be done with it, and not have to rely on the subscription model. Um, in order to enjoy this piece of media. But the Seeds of Starlight Audible original is out next Thursday, so November 14th. So we will not be talking about it next week, but the week after. So
Yes, correct. And correct me if I'm wrong, every Star Wars book that was an Audible first has gotten a physical release.
so the um what are the words? The audio dramas are not Audible originals. They're just
That is
audio
true.
dramas.
That is
So these
true.
are Audible originals. So there's the difference for you. They also have different publishers. So this is Lucasfilm, Disney
Hmm.
Lucasfilm Media, and the audio dramas are Random House Worlds. So technicalities, we love them. You gotta hate them. Like,
Yeah,
so
which does make me think that there is a big possibility that this is not going to
I
get a
don't think it
physical
will.
release. Yeah,
I don't think it will.
that's a little
Which
bit of a
again,
bummer.
it stinks. Yeah.
Now, see,
Um,
I will say this though: the only thing that I think might happen, which again, we are talking about, you know, the media and physical media in the day and age of everything being digital. Sandman, Audible Original, came out with an audio physical release.
hmm,
I believe
I,
at least the first one did. I don't know if the second or third one did, but I believe the first one has a physical CD release. So there's some speck of hope there, maybe.
maybe like a a conglomeration
Yeah,
of
like a
all
like
potential
a
Star Wars stories. I could
yeah,
see that, but with this only because Sandman's was what 13, 14 hours, I think is what it
yeah,
was.
I think so.
Um, Padawan's Pride is a little under 4 hours, and then Seeds of Starlight is 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would get a physical audio release all on its own.
Hmm.
That just
I
doesn't
I
make
could see it
sense.
being I could see it being like an anthology of
Yeah,
sorts if it
that's the
does
word
have
I
a
was
physical
looking for.
release.
So yeah,
But
it
yeah,
looks like there is an MP3 CD as of September 23rd, 2024, Sandman Volume 1.
Okay.
I do not see where there is Volume 2 or 3. So, but yeah, completely plausible. Oh, no, here it is. The Sandman Act 2, Act 3. So,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
I think it would be very smart for Lucasfilm
Your
to
audio just went out.
don't say that. Is it out? Can you hear me?
Totally gone.
Oh, hello, hello, hello.
Okay, it might be me. Because the Skeleton Crew video, I can't hear the audio.
Okay, thank God. I'll just have to.
Yep, I can hear you now. Why you no worky? Okay, let me try my other pair of headphones. That's the benefit
All
of
right.
having two headphones.
Well, I will definitely need to make sure that I edit this part out of the podcast, people. This is just, how things end up working. So, yay
Got it.
us. You're
We're good.
good?
Yep.
All right, let me go ahead and write this down. We're doing it live, people. We're doing it live. So, I think it was like 15:20 to 16:40. All right.
It was very confusing because like they didn't even like typically those headphones will be like, oh yeah, like we're about to die. Like I got none of that at all.
All right. So next up would be do you want to leave the trailer for last or
Let's
do
leave
you
the
want to
trailer for last and let's go ahead and talk about the Star Wars Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Um,
So this is a discussion that I'm wanting to have with you because I saw a post with this. Of course, this I saw this first from when you posted it, the Star Wars Holocron, saying the Inquisitor who fought Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi has been given an official name in the new Star Wars Encyclopedia book releasing later this month. The character, voiced by Clancy Brown, didn't even remember him actually saying any actual words, is named First Brother. Now, Katie, as somebody who has read the Ahsoka book, this is something that I really want to talk to you about. Is First Brother mentioned at all in this novel? Like, at all? Like,
so it's been several years since I've read the Ahsoka book. I just want to say
okay.
that. So I'm going off of the Wikipedia summary.
Okay.
Again, so we have 5 mentions of the word first in this article. We love a control F, okay? Makes it super simple. That's not it. That's not it. That is not it. That is not it. And that is not it. So,
Well,
no.
there you go.
First, not mentioned, but I did read it. Okay, so I used Control F because I wanted to be funny. I read this whole thing before we started because I couldn't remember if it was First Brother or if it was somebody else.
Uh-huh.
The Inquisitor named in the book is Sixth Brother.
Well, just like Taylor
This is
said, or not
another
Taylor,
F
Travis.
you.
Yeah, this is exactly what Travis says. Books are canon until they're not. And like how like again, Ahsoka was by Kristen, correct? Is it Kristen who wrote Ahsoka?
No,
Who
it was E.K. Johnston who wrote the
Johnston?
Padme
That's
trilogy and the
and
Kira book.
Ahsoka. Yeah. Uh I don't know how I feel about this. Uh
Was it really that hard to just go, hey, let's just use the book identification because he's not named in the episode and he's not named in the credits of the episode. So, like, is it really that difficult?
I'm so like it Star Wars just knows how to self-implode on itself all the time. I'm so confused as of the decisions they make. But in all honesty, this is probably going to trigger some people. Is the name that important? You know, in this instance. Now, again, I haven't read the Ahsoka book, so I don't know how much weight the sixth brother has on the book itself. But in Tales of the Jedi, it's not even a fight, guys. Like, Ahsoka is so OP in this fight, she strikes him down in one blow. And of course, I
Yeah.
think it's more so to send a message of like, oh, she still has it. She still has the ability to protect herself and all of these other things within the episode. That's the story. And then of course, when you look back at even like Rebels and her appearance through there, and of course moving on towards the show Ahsoka, it's to show like it was a small milestone she had to go past to really say, hey, I'm kind of stuck with having this identity of a quote unquote Jedi or a protector or whatever. So like it's a small thing for me personally, but I just like I am a little annoyed, even as somebody who hasn't read the Ahsoka book, that Lucasfilm and Star Wars would do this. That would just be like, hey, we're gonna counteract this one book the same way, but twice now.
Yeah, because, and you think about it. Okay, so I think it's this guy. Yeah. It's the Star Wars Encyclopedia, the comprehensive guide to the Star Wars galaxy. And it's by it's got 7 authors attached: Kelly Knox, Dan Zier, Brandon Wainerdy, Amy Ratcliffe, Amy Richau, Megan Krause, and Dan Brooks. And I know every single one of these people except Brandon on the Twitterverse and everything. I've never met any of these people in person. I know each and every one of them has read that Ahsoka book. So this was a direct handoff from Lucasfilm that says, hey, this is First Brother. Like, nice to meet you. And I just want to point out something from the Ahsoka novel as well. So Sixth Brother is referenced in Star Wars The Dark Side Pocket Expert and is mentioned there. And the book lists Tales of the Jedi in appearances for other characters. The Pocket Expert stated the sixth brother had only appeared in comics and novels up to that point, leaving out any listing for Tales of the Jedi. The 2023 Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade also features sixth brother, but he is described to appear as he does in Ahsoka, not as the Tales of the Jedi Inquisitor. So are they just instead kind of going, okay, Tales of the Jedi happens within the timeline of the Ahsoka book, but it's not the incident in question in the Ahsoka book? Is this what's happening?
Oh, that would be confusing as hell.
It
Well, like
is.
it
Because they're
would be,
similar. They are
yeah.
similar incidents. Point blank.
Mm-hmm. But
Like
I would
everything
feel
kind of
like there should
happens.
be, well, again, you end up with the same problem that we are going to talk about in Padawan's Pride that I'm going to mention. When it comes to Star Wars, it's very unfortunate that all of these great ideas, sometimes not so great ideas, come out after the fact, and we have to kind of just slide them into the pieces of the timeline.
Yep.
And so sometimes they make sense and sometimes they don't. And this is one of those instances that if it is trying to insinuate, oh, she fought first brother and sixth brother, there needs to be a distinction of like an official thing that says yes, she fought both first brother and sixth brother, rather than
Yeah,
just saying, hey, she fought sixth brother in this book, but fought first brother in this show, and they just so happen to be in the same timeline, and we're not going to verify whether it's the exact same fight or not. Like, that's just really confusing.
yeah, and I think it's supposed to be the same fight because Dave Filoni is known for overwriting stuff. And at this point, especially with the issues, because like there's this whole thing on continuity for the Ahsoka novel on the Wikipedia article. I'm not gonna read every line verbatim. Um, but like Dave Filoni, going back to his quote on the episode, he said, "It's based on the same outline I gave publishing for the novel. It was always the same story." But could you headcanon it to be different? The other thing too that brings up is that the episode has Bail Organa encountering Ahsoka at Padme Amidala's funeral, which occurs days after the rise of the Empire. In the novel, Ahsoka and Bail do not even know that the other is still alive until shortly before their first in-person meeting in the book, which is over a year after the Empire's formation. So there's other contradictions for sure. I just don't know why you say, okay, here's the outline. Like, I want Ahsoka's story to continue, and this needs to be the bridge to get her to Rebels. Because that's what this book was marketed as is, okay, what has Ahsoka been up to for 15 years? Here's what she
Yeah.
was doing. Like, but then now you're like, oh, okay, it's been 10 years since this novel was published. Like, let's overwrite it. And it's not been 10 years since the novel was published to Tales of the Jedi. This book came out in 2016, October 2016. So it had been what, like 6 years? But still, the point
Mm-hmm.
stands. Like, oh, enough people have forgotten about this book where I used it as a marketing endeavor for my new TV show. So let's just forget about it and toss it out the window to make my new TV show.
It's a weird choice, and it comes down to the idea of like how many stories are you willing to stomp all over to now I'm not going to say that Tales of the Jedi is bad because it's good. I love it. I love the stories that they told with Qui-Gon Jinn. I love the cinematography of this fight that we're talking about in particular. It's
Mm-hmm.
very fun. But like you have this stamp of approval of all books in Star Wars are canon. Every choice that these creators make within these novels are important. And then you're like, well, it's important until I say it is.
Mm-hmm.
That feels really crappy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like of course everybody's going to say if I have the chance to write a Star Wars book, if I am given that chance to write a Star Wars book, they're going to take it, yes. But it just hurts that much more if Dave Filoni and Star Wars and Lucasfilm decide, hey, you know that thing that you wrote? We're just going to act like it doesn't exist anymore. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same bird we've talked about a bazillion times. So like, I don't want to beat a dead horse,
Yeah.
but it really does suck, and especially when the encyclopedia is like meant for book people. Like, how many people that you know just watch Star Wars are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy the Star Wars encyclopedia. Like, it's
Yeah.
not the same fan base.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
so this was a direct, hey, here's Lucasfilm, because again, the guy wasn't named in the episode. So Lucasfilm point blank said, okay, you're gonna include him. Probably not gonna include him, but like, hey, we made Tales of the Jedi. Here's who he was. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate, actually, like in all honesty. So yeah, let's move on to next bit of news. And I guess the only thing we do have is the trailer, right?
At Skeleton Crew trailer number 2. This
Yes.
show is coming out in 1 month. I am so excited. And I don't care what all you people say about the fact that this music is not instrumental and it is not orchestral. This music rocks.
No, don't get me wrong. So, of course, guys, if you go back into the Star Wars Alliance feed, we interviewed Tom and I gave
Mhm.
him the question. I said, if you could put any modern music into Star Wars, one, where would it go? And two, what song would it be? And then he gave me a challenge that I actually never even finished. Um, so thanks for reminding me, Tom. But we also saw, I believe it was the first episode of Ahsoka, when Sabine was on the speeder driving down that like galactic highway. People were putting freaking ACDC to
Yeah,
that GIF, and it looked great.
yeah.
So I mentioned when this came out, I think I was the first one to mention it in our GUA chat. I said, "Is this the first time Star Wars has or Disney Star Wars has added modern music to promote a Star Wars project?" You had stated that you think there was quite possibly an episode 3 Revenge of the Sith trailer with modern music. I don't remember that, and that's why I asked the question to begin with, because I'm not going to say it was jarring. It wasn't jarring. It felt surprisingly organic because of the subject matter and how they are presenting the show. Like in all honesty, like this looks like just a sci-fi film within the universe of Star Wars. So I think the music choice was fine. I don't know if I necessarily saw anybody like really complaining about it. Did you see a whole lot of discourse on Twitter about it?
Not really, other than our GUA chat, because everybody hates this. But like, it's also because you actually hear lyrics at the end of the trailer, and they actually transposed. Star Wars Splash Page tweeted this on because I am not a music person, just point blank. So this is apparently Major Tom Coming Home by Peter Schilling.
Mhm.
I
It's
I really dug the music.
yeah, so one thing that I learned in when I was taking audio engineering classes is how you can do this with music videos. Um, it's one of my favorite things to like see in trailers is how well you put the music to the actual visual aid of video and trailers and all of that.
Mhm.
Um, like people our age, Katie, I don't know if you are necessarily a part of this scene or not, but I know there's going to be people out there that know exactly the reference I'm about to say and be like, "Yes, that was our childhood." There was a time where people loved to put like Linkin Park and Disturbed and all of these rock music, the genre of rock music, and make animated music videos for
Yeah.
like Dragon Ball Z, Full Metal Alchemist, like all sorts of stuff. Uh, and it's a very popular thing to do, or at least it was. And so when I see it done with this, again, like you said, the last I think it's like maybe 15 seconds of the trailer. It's not the whole trailer. The whole trailer is about 2 minutes long. The last
Yeah.
15 seconds is really what you see and hear the actual song, because the beginning of the trailer is all the instrumental intro of the song, and then you hear the lyrics. And I think it works well. I think it's very fun. Again, it gives that vibe of like, hey, it's going to be kind of crazy. It is going to be fun. Let's see how this goes. And I dug it. I dug all the new footage that we saw in this trailer. And dare I say it, I think I might actually be getting excited about this show.
Well, and like the like punky feel of the music is totally something that we've read about in Star Wars books, where there's like a punky vibe, like not just like strings and trumpets and all this stuff. Like I'm down for it. I'm really down for it. And I don't know if this music will be used at any point in the show, honestly. But like, what's wrong? I mean, there was no words to it. Like, it wasn't modern R&B, but like every genre of music is
So
applicable to different shows.
okay, actually, you're a really big fan of this show, so I'm going to go ahead and use this as a reference. How would you feel if Star Wars started to treat modern music within Star Wars the same way that Bridgerton does with its modern music?
Absolutely. Like, what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like,
So here's it, it has to be situational, I think, in my way of thinking. Um because I don't think I would want them to go too crazy with it, but like
yeah,
if we go to a cantina and they're playing music, but like if I'm really listening to it, I'm starting to hear like who's like freaking Imagine Dragons. I'd be
yeah,
like first I'd be like, what the hell? And then I would listen to, like, as long as it is played, because again, in Bridgerton, it's all instrumental. They put their own pizzazz into it so that way it sounds like it comes from that world of Bridgerton. So you would have to do the same thing with Star Wars. You would have to use the instruments. You kind of have to give it that what's the phrase for what's
multiple like air tunnels, kind of, because like
what's the actual term for Star Wars music within the universe again? What is it called? Music in Star Wars is called diegetic. Oh, I remember this because everybody was making fun of the name of it. Jizz is was the
yeah, that's like one of the genres.
yeah.
Um,
So but yeah, it's an upbeat swing genre of music, most notably performed by Figrin Da'an and Modal Nods and Max Rebo. But you hear
yeah,
you if you hear Cantina music, you're like, that's Star Wars music. But just change the notes
yeah.
a little bit to make an actual song in the modern era. I would totally be down for that. I think it would be fun.
It's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, like if you want to put alien lyrics to it, like by all means. But like, I also think like you can't. There's like not a guitar. Well, I guess do have a guitar because like, Visions did a guitar.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm like thinking like Bad Blood, not necessarily like Love Story. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know.
And
It definitely
here's the
has
thing
to
also
depend.
though. Yeah, like for me personally, I don't listen to a lot of music right now. Right now, whenever it comes to my listening choice, it is podcasts and audiobooks. I don't listen to a whole lot of music. Abby is the music person. So if like we're listening to something, I'll be like, "Oh, who's this?" And she tells me like who's in the music scene. Like the only few people that I know right now that are in the music scene. Like, I like Halsey. I don't know if she's making any current music right now, but like right
She's
now, Sabrina Carpenter is like really, really big. Like, I know that. So if I were to hear like a couple tunes of a Sabrina Carpenter song in Skeleton Crew all of a sudden in a cantina or whatever, I think that would be fun. I'd be like, huh, that's cool, whatever. But of course, I know there's going to be people that are just like, that's not Star Wars music, blah, 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 blah.
it's sci-fi fantasy. Get over your fucking selves.
Well, yeah, like, and again, like you just mentioned, we see in Star Wars itself that there are people who are in a band. Max Rebo and all of them in the cantina.
Mhm.
So you have to assume, oh, people make a career out of this within the Star Wars universe. We see
Yep.
it again in, like you said, Visions. So there should be a wider variety of music that we see and hear in Star Wars projects. That I think that should be a genuine thing.
Yeah, and the music of Star Wars, John Williams is so beloved, but also John Williams is 92. You're not gonna evoke his feeling for forever, and generations change and want different types of music in their
Yeah.
projects. Like the only reason I'm listening to like piano adaptations right now is because that's what Mara likes. I'm not like that's not me at all. I'm not a classical music person by any means. Like people are like, "Oh yeah, I listen to Hans Zimmer or I listen to John Williams and that's how I study." No, absolutely not. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the music in the context of the movie. But I have literally tried sitting there because they're like, "Oh yeah, classical music is best for the brain, and that's how you remember things." And I will sit there, and I literally fell asleep at my desk one time. Like, that is
It's
not something
rough.
I
I
do.
can't do it. I can't do classical music. I can barely do like movie soundtracks. It's
Yeah.
just not my thing. Now, again, I like the technical side of it. If you put me in front of a screen and you show me, oh, this was made using this and putting this together, like I love all of that. That's fun to me. But listening to it just because, can't do it. I can't do it. Like I at one point, like I'm a really big fan of Man of Steel. And like I love the fly scene. I
Mhm.
cannot listen to that music by itself. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this thing's like 6 minutes long. Let's just move on already. Come on, keep going. Like I need something a little bit more energizing, something with lyrics, something. So that's just me though. And everybody has a
If
different opinion.
yeah, and if that's controversial, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Like, I'm also just not a music person in general. Like, I'm
But
just really not.
yeah, but again, I think it would be a very fun integration
Mhm.
of modern music within Star Wars if they were to do that in future projects. So, Lucasfilm, if you're listening to us, we give you the green light. It's okay. Okay? Just do it. It's going to be fine. Um do we have anything else to say about the trailer
Not really.
specifically?
I'm really interested by the footage. It kind of looks, and based on some of the quotes in the interviews, it kind of looks like we could be doing something along the lines of, oh my gosh, what's the Jim Carrey movie where the Truman Show? Because
Oh,
basically
yes.
one of the kids is like, "Oh yeah, like we're traveling around and nobody knows what planet we're from." Like we keep saying like we need to get back to our planet, but they don't know what planet we're from.
That is very interesting. I think that is a very fun thing because again, we talk about it all the time. We in every Star Wars project get a mention of a known planet within Star Wars. And I think it's
Yep.
more so for effect for us, the audience, to feel connected to the universe, right? I think it's
Yep.
just very simple of like, oh, Coruscant. Yeah, we all know Coruscant. It's, where the Jedi Temple was and, the Senate and all of this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Oh,
Yeah.
we know Tatooine. Oh, we know this. Like, I think it's very much for the audience to be like, hey, you are in the Star Wars universe. For the fact that a plot point in this series is these kids wanting to go on an adventure, end up leaving their home planet, and then trying to get home, and nobody knows where they are. Katie, are we finally going to hit outside of the Outer Rim?
I don't think so, because in the trailer, one of the kids has Old Republic credits, and the bartender's like, "Where did you get Old Republic credits?" Like, so I think like maybe the planet could be outside, but also where would they get Old Republic credits
That's
if they were
true.
outside of like in the unknown regions? So that could have been cool if not, and a really good theory if not for that scene.
But
Unless they got it off the Jedi ship that
yeah,
they find,
that's
which
what
is
I mean. Like,
completely plausible.
it is completely possible because I also don't believe that in a universe like Star Wars, where a galactic war took place for so many years and technically still going on semi during this time of the Skeleton Crew, like, how, if they were inside like the known universe that we've seen in
Yeah.
Star Wars, how can people not know about it? No?
It could completely be like they're a colony in the unknown regions that like Palpatine put out because he wanted to like, and a lot of people have said this is a theory, but like make it so that like there's part of the galaxy that thinks like everything's still fine in TNT, and like you're feeding in like the news that you want and everything, which could explain like the suburbia
Oh.
that we're seeing. Um because ultimately I think that's the best theory is, hey, we have suburban Star Wars. And again, there's other planets in the galaxy, guys. Things can look like Earth.
How
Like,
how fucking weird. Sorry for my language, but just thinking about like Palpatine making this plan, it's like, and then I want a neighborhood, and I want, this cul-de-sac here, and I want this cul-de-sac here. Like, it's just so stupid and funny at the same time. But yeah, I could totally see that for him to be able to control a whole region of space to like its birthing point, right? And so he is
mhm.
feeding it from the ground up. Like, I think that would be an interesting plot point. I kind of feel like that would be something that was shown though. Like, cuz I think that would be a hook to be like, "Oh wow, that's so strange." But again, I think this one scene of, "Oh, how'd you get Old Republic credits?" I think that within itself, people are latching onto it, so it is important, right?
Yeah,
So
and
I
I'm like it could also tie back into the Thrawn plot, like maybe Thrawn did some building there, because he wanted to kind of see how people of the Republic could adapt, like to what was going on. But you also talk about how like, oh, how would you not know that a great war is happening? But remember, there's like 750 known planets. I think the last map counting. And then we've had like several new planets come up since then. And in Legends, there was the inner core uh of the known galaxy, and it was tough to get there. And that's where like um Tyvis and things were, and you had to go through like certain um like nebulas and everything. But like Bane goes there. Bane goes to one of the planets in the inner core that's impossible to find, and the Jedi are only able to follow him because they knew where he like they like started out following him and stuff. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of this, but like um Zana talks about like, or no, it's Zana's new apprentice goes, well, like, how are the Jedi not going to find us here? And she's like, well, we killed all the Jedi and they're never going to be able to find this place. So there's definitely planets that are like able to hide with like their um circumstances, space stuff around them and everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think it's a very fun idea. It's a very interesting idea because like you said, as a universe that we the audience have been so accustomed to, just like, oh yeah, people just travel through light speed and they go to all these planets and that everybody knows. It's a very key point and a very interesting point that there's just happens to be one planet that people don't know of, and I think that's very, very cool.
yep.
um but yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun series. A lot of people are attaching themselves to this one individual character in this
Neil.
series. Yes, that is in fact not related or the same species
Yeah.
relative to that of Max Rebo. Uh,
Which is strange to me.
why?
But like, I don't know, like I'm like, and it goes back to like the, oh, like Finn's a black person, so he's related to the Lando thing. I'm sorry, but like they look exactly the same.
They
It,
do and they don't. So one thing that I noticed with this character in Skeleton Crew, she has an iris, she has pupils, whereas Max Rebo's eyes are all black.
okay.
So there is small characteristics that are there. The trunks on, of course, their face, different sizes. Now it could be for the fact that
Right, with
this
a kid.
individual is a kid, exactly. Um, this individual has what looks like hair where Max Rebo did not, you know? Uh, so I think there are key things. And for the fact that Max Rebo was, for some reason, always naked, um, and this individual is not. So, like, there's something to that as well. So I think that it is, in my mind, a little obvious that they were not the same species, but to each their own. As far as like, because again, this is a large universe.
Yeah,
There should be a large
completely
amount of
fair.
species.
Completely fair. And I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but it's at the same time, it's like Alien looks identical.
Hmm.
And because, like, you could also use, like, the, well, they look different too, but, like, all the Twi'leks look different. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree to that to a point.
Because
Um,
you got purple, you got orange, you got green, yellow,
blue,
blue, but then like the head tails can be different. So like men can have
exactly.
two, but they can also have three, or they could have one. But then girls always have two, and then the females have cone ears, and the males don't. And
Yeah,
so,
there's
see, say,
there's a lot of weird rules to Star Wars, people. It's just the way it goes. So I think it's gonna be fun. I think
yeah,
that people should not try and get caught up in the quote unquote rules of Star Wars. Um, because sometimes that just it makes it not fun. And I think we just
and
need to go to the
remember,
flow. Oh, what was it?
ultimately, you can be critical of a show without insulting the actors, and especially considering the main actors are children.
Yes,
Keep
100%.
your shit together.
Yeah, no, there is I think we discussed it before, but like a couple weeks ago there was a huge post that was kind of going viral that was like, "Oh, protect these kids," and then somebody quote tweeted it and said, no, these kids don't need protecting. They just need to take criticism, blah, blah. And then there was a lot of conversation about like, it's because of posts like this that we do need to protect these kids, you know? So
Yes.
yeah, 100%.
You suck is not valid criticism or
Yeah.
any variation.
Yeah. And again, I truly believe there's no valid criticism until at least the first episode is out. There can be opinions on
Which we
choices
get
of
2
themes.
episodes. So,
Exactly.
yes.
There could be valid criticisms of themes and like the direction the show could be going, but like to flat out say like a harsh criticism towards something that has not even aired yet. Again, we've been through this with the Acolyte. It Don't do it with the show, guys. It's a waste of time for everybody. So let's
Yep.
just enjoy what we have and
And
move
if you don't
forward.
want to enjoy it, don't watch it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. 100%. But with
Well,
that, oh, go ahead.
to our main topic.
Yes, to our main topic tonight, which is Padawan's Pride. And Katie, I will completely admit during that whole entire time I was doing chores, I still had about 40 minutes left on the audiobook. And so I put it to 1.5 speed and listened to the rest of it. I got it all done this time. Um, and
Did you finish
I
Empire's
did,
End?
I did end up finishing Empire's End because I did make that promise. I was going to skip right to Padawan's Pride, but I was like, it's only 30 minutes. Let's go ahead and listen to it. And so I did.
Good job. I'm so proud of you.
We both had to suffer, you know?
Yes.
So Padawan's Pride. Uh this of course is taken place after Phantom Menace,
Yes.
before Attack of the Clones. And one thing that I think is so hilarious is it doesn't seem like Obi-Wan Kenobi has aged at all from this moment to the moment we see him in Attack of the Clones. He like for the amount of years it is in between, like there is a fountain of youth that Obi-Wan is just drinking from because they use the exact same character model for this cover for Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones. And then there's a slight change. I can almost guarantee that whoever drew this took the character model because I believe there was an old school scholastic novel, of course, would be considered legends now, of Anakin as a Padawan with
Yes.
him on the cover. And I believe somebody just found that on Google, whoever did this cover, and just like drew that as a reference because it looks exactly the same. But I digress. This is, and I had to kind of roll my eyes at the reasoning why this mission takes place. But Katie, why don't you give us a quick summary, a roundup, if you will, of like what this audiobook is about?
So this audiobook takes place Obi-Wan and Anakin are supposed to go on a mission and they are pod racing. Anakin is the pod racer in specific. And they are trying to bring home a Republic spy who has been spying on the criminal syndicates. And they get to, I forget the planet. This is the problem with audio originals too, is I need a physical because I like to read it and understand and like be able, yeah. Anyways, um,
On the moons
so
of
they,
Varl is where
yes,
they go.
Varl. And so they get to Varl, and Obi-Wan has to leave because he is familiar with the hut that is on the planet. Uh and the hut does not like him very much and will blow their cover. So Anakin is left to fend for himself in a race to save the agent and discover if he's truly meant to be a Jedi.
Yeah. I kind of rolled my eyes when there's a moment in the beginning of this audiobook where or audible when because it opens up with Anakin stealing a speeder
Yes.
or some sort of aircraft and flying it through Coruscant. Uh we know that at this time Obi-Wan Kenobi is spending a lot of midnight hours in the Jedi archives trying to figure out who killed Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes. And
So,
trying to see, he does ultimately come to the idea of, okay, maybe he was a Sith, but was he the master or was he the apprentice?
yes. And when oh man, I keep forgetting uh the librarian archivist
Jocasta
master.
knew.
Yes, Jocasta. She confronts Obi-Wan and she's like, "Oh, by the way, the council's looking for you." And he's like, "At this hour? What's going on? Like, why are they looking for me at this hour?" And then all of a sudden you just hear the sirens. And he's like, "Ah, crap. What did Anakin do this time?" And it's the fact that Anakin stole a speeder and they end up going to the council and they're like, "Okay, he stole a speeder. I didn't pay attention to him enough to like, you know, make sure that this didn't happen. We both need to be punished. What's going on?" And Yoda's like, "Oh, well, there's no punishment for now,
Hmm.
but there is a mission for you." And Obi-Wan's like, just like, "Are you kidding me? We both did something very wrong." And I like how Anakin is kind of like just looking at him like, "Dude, are you trying to get me kicked out of the freaking academy?
There's
Like
like the
what are you
kid
doing?"
that is like, hey, where's our homework? We didn't get assigned any homework.
And they're like, "Shut up, dude. I don't stop being a narc, you know?" Um but this is where I rolled my eyes because Yoda was like, "Oh, it's a mission that only Anakin can can what's the phrasing?
Accomplish.
Accomplish." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the new chapter starts and it's like, "Oh, pod racing." And I'm like, "Oh god." Like why like I understand there's a bit of fun with that idea, but why pod racing? You could have
well, you
chosen
gotta.
anything.
Well, you have to think about it. You need something that's applicable for Anakin to kind of, because this is ultimately like Anakin's Padawan book. Like Obi-Wan was
Yeah,
struggling to figure out if he was meant to be a Jedi. This is same exact vein.
yeah,
So you need something that Anakin is good at, even though we know he's basically good at anything he touches. Um, so you need something that he's naturally good at. You also need the capability for people to recognize him because the Hut does end up recognizing him based off his pod racing skills. Um, and like having familiar faces, like the whole thing, just to like draw people in. Um, and everything. Plus, you need something that like Anakin's not just good at, but he can do by himself because you need Obi-Wan to go away.
yeah.
Uh so to me it made sense. Plus, we never got any pod racing after the movies. Like I know there's like the video games and stuff, but
Yeah,
like
and
pod racing never came back up. So to me, it wasn't like a like really like
that's true. And I think that the Phantom Menace, of course, had the unfortunate uh fan reaction of like, "Oh, this is the worst Star Wars movie ever."
yeah,
So Lucasfilm probably wanted to veer away from anything and everything that episode one had in it. So
yeah.
of course they didn't bring back pod racing. which is a very good point, actually. Like even you look at things like the High Republic, and there hasn't been anything of the sorts when it comes to sports.
See, and I'm still like you get sports because you have like your 5-year racing, and then you have like it was Tales of Light and Life. Um, because like what's his name? Um, Greylark. Greylark was playing something in there, and
I'm gonna have to go back
so
and read that. I don't remember that.
I'm fairly certain he was playing like they were watching something. He wasn't playing it, he was watching it.
Oh, okay.
Um, but there's like other mentions of sports. It's just like you don't get like a big appeal for it, I guess. But like there's a lot of racing and stuff. And like to me, honestly, y'all, this and I said like Lego Skywalker Saga was the dream, but the ultimate dream is a Star Wars pod racing game in the similar vein of Mario Kart. That
I
is the
think that would
ultimate dream.
be I think that would be very fun. Um there's a lot of racing games that Lucasfilm can kind of look into to be like, "Oh, how can we adapt pod racing
Yeah.
to modern gaming?" And I think it could definitely work. But yeah, like the idea of this pod race is something that, like you said, only Anakin can do on his own. He gets to build his own pod racer. And he has this like little flashback of when he built his and won the race on Tatooine. But he was like, "Oh man, but back then I had so many people with me. I had all my friends, Padme, Jar Jar Binks, Qui-Gon Jinn, they were all there." And he's a little sad now because he doesn't have anybody. Um, like you said, there is a bit of a questioning of whether he should be the the Jedi that he's training to be at this current time. Um, and like you said, Obi-Wan has to leave. There's even a moment where he is doing. I think at this time, Anakin was doing a test run, and Obi-Wan just all of a sudden is talking uh on their comms, and he's like, "Slow down, like you're
Hmm.
driving like a Jedi. Stop doing that." And Anakin's like, "Where the hell are you? Like, how are you even
Yeah.
watching me right now?" And he's just like, "Just consider me there in spirit," which I think is a little like on the nose, like, oh, uh, uh Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan like use
Yeah.
the Force, like, oh, I think there's a little bit of that going on there, which I think is fun.
And
Um,
remember, this is a middle grade kids book.
yeah,
Like
100%, 100%.
I was saying that more for like people listening. Like 100% like cheese to be
Oh,
expected.
like there's a moment where like, and I don't necessarily like how they describe the scene, but there's a moment where Anakin needs to like create a distraction, so he's like using the
Hmm.
Force to like kind of create this chaos moment at like a dinner or something.
Yeah.
And the way the narrator described it was he was explaining the plan that Anakin was going to do, but like the
Hmm.
way he described it was also it was happening in real time. So I got a little lost there for a second. And I had to be like, okay, so this actually did happen, even though you're using like future and past tense. Okay, it's whatever. Um, but yeah, I think, and again, I don't think this review is going to be very long. Again, this was
Yeah.
only a like it is literally 3 hours and 57 minutes, I think. So a little under 4 hours, like Katie had said before. Um, but ultimately, I think it was a fun little story. I think that this is a very unique ordeal that Star Wars has decided to do with these audio originals.
Hmm. Um yeah, I think this was a fun story. It was a fun read. It wasn't something that dragged at all. Um The author, by the way, because we have not mentioned that at all, is Brian Q. Miller. Uh, who has he written any other things? He wrote on the television series Smallville, and wrote for the Batgirl comic book run. But this was his first Star Wars appearance. The narrator is Kevin Hem, who really did a fantastic job. Um,
Yeah, I think that he
and
did a very good job with the like dialect of the young actor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head
yeah,
for Anakin. I think that he did a fairly good job with the
Jake
dialect that
Lloyd.
he had. Jake Lloyd, yes. And his Obi-Wan was pretty well as well.
Yeah, I honestly, the first time I listened to this when it first came out, because obviously audio originals at this point with Star Wars, right? You're thinking like full cast and everything. So honestly, the first time I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is like a full cast. Like, brava. Like, I'm impressed. And so it's not a full cast, but I was still like very I thoroughly enjoyed the listen. And Jake Bartok, who you see on Star Wars Twitter, he does like the he does a lot of High Republic artwork with like the
Mhm.
old look and everything. He actually did the art on this, and he did the art on Seeds of Starlight. So
Ah,
that's
okay.
really cool for
I
him.
thought it looked familiar as far as the art
Mhm.
style. He's actually been doing a lot of stuff for Star
Yeah,
Wars and comics, actually.
yeah, because he's started a lot of work on the High Republic Adventures. Um, but he was known for a lot of Star Wars fan art.
Yes.
And actually, it looks like the first actual cover they have him down for is Alyssa Wong's The Battle of Iriadu. So they just have him down for Stories of Jedi and Sith, and then Padawan's Pride after that.
Hmm, very
Um,
nice.
but I mean, it's a really simple listen. I have, like I said, I shared it with my sister, and she was like, "Ooh, like Keith will love this," and he really did. Keith is my 1.5-year-old nephew. So like they put on all these because Disney released like a Frozen audiobook, a Cars. So this was like a bunch of like Audible originals straight from Disney. So it was a good move, I think. I'm very sad that there was no publication. Like, oh hey, these are coming. So like at least we found out about Seeds of Starlight in advance.
Yeah, I would like to know if, because again, just the work that I do, eventually these books are solicited for me. So even though I'm putting in this info, there is once a month we put out a huge catalog saying, "Hey, this stuff is new to order. This stuff is now on sale." All of these different things. I think Amazon and Audible should definitely do that type of thing when it comes to these originals.
Yeah. I know I get emails about new things on Audible, but I haven't opened those emails in forever. Like they go to a spam folder basically.
Yeah.
Like they were doing a three, like if you spend 3 credits, then you get a credit free sale. And I didn't find out about it for 2 months. Like
I remember
so
that sale, yeah.
um so yeah, it's just like it's a lot. And I think Audible is trying to expand its horizons with kind of getting some more originals because they had a lot of originals. And then they like dropped off the map and stuff. So like the originals part of it.
Mhm.
Um, and everything. So overall, if you have an Audible account, I would recommend giving this a listen. Especially if you have younger kids. I think it's fully appropriate for younger kids, especially.
Yeah, I think so as well. And again, for those who do listen to things like on their way to work and stuff, this is a good like week-long listen, to work and
Yeah.
back, I think would be a very easy listen to be completely honest. So
Yeah,
very, very
because
fun.
now that we're in daycare, I'm gonna start putting audiobooks back on in the car because I take her in the morning and Matt picks her up. So I now have a commute as a remote worker. So yeah,
Hey, at least you get out of the house. That's a good thing,
it's
right?
probably a good thing for my mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's very much a good thing.
Otherwise, I
Um
just stay at my desk all day. I get to stare out the window. My neighbors across the street are putting in an addition. I get to see the progress. I live a boring
uh,
life, y'all.
but
All
with
right,
that,
well,
guys,
Clay, I think that's it.
yeah, it very much is. I wish that's and here's the hard thing. One last comment about this. We're talking about the runtime, 3 hours and 57 minutes. I think this might be a sweet spot. The we talked about the other one that is coming out soon. It is 4 hours and 29 minutes. I don't think you can break the 5 hour mark with
Yeah.
these. Because if they want them to just be smaller projects, I think this is the way to go. It's really easy, and I I don't know. Like something about it is just like, hey, this needs to be a small thing. Uh, so yeah, I think this 3 to 5 hour mark is gonna be a sweet spot for these Audible originals. But guys,
Yeah.
we want to thank you for being here to listen to our review. Um, Thank you for just talk about earlier in the very beginning of this podcast. Uh, I think some things that are going to help us through this is appreciating what we do have at this current time. And so I want to thank you all for listening to us every single week. Reminder
Truly.
that we do have a very cool interview happening next week with Steven. Uh, and I think it's going to be really fun. Like, I'm really excited about this. I will go ahead and mention that I have not read or haven't started reading the other book yet, Katie, but I'm going to try and get a little bit of it just to kind of see where he was as a writer when he first read that, comparative to what we had just read with Mace Windu. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Guys, stay tuned to
Yes.
that. He is going to join us live here on YouTube for that
Yes.
conversation. It's going to be so much fun.
Very
But of
excited
course,
for that.
you can find me at Fanboy Clay on any and all social media. Don't know how much longer I'm going to be on Twitter, but that's just me personally. Katie, what about you?
Yeah. Y'all can find me on most social media platforms. It is at Slates with Katie. This show you can find on Twitter. We need to get it on Blue Sky or something else. It is at Star Wars Lens. The A in the war is very important. Don't forget it. Remember, you can use that same username and shoot us an email at gmail.com. Or I think that's about it, right? Because you lost
Well,
the other phone.
no, I didn't.
Did you get it back? Oh,
Yes, I
okay.
got it back. It is I use it actually for my work phone now. Which means I kind of have to answer every single work call. Otherwise they will hear the Star Wars hotline voicemail and they'll be like, "What the heck is this?" So I just have to know the numbers for work and I'll be like, "Oh god, okay." But yeah, the phone number for the hotline is 830-538-4828. Please text and or call. We will, of course, listen and or read these texts beforehand, so don't be acting a fool when you do it. Of course, give us your opinions on anything and everything that we talk about. Any Star Wars content that you consume that you want to talk about, let us know. It is going to be fun. Of course, with Skeleton Crew coming out, you want your first reaction to be heard? Call the number. leave us a voicemail. We will play it here if it is appropriate. We will react to it. We will answer any questions, whatever. I think it'll be really, really fun. And of
Yes.
course, the email is starwarsalliance@gmail.com. Remember, there is no A in between W and R, so it's just Star Wars Alliance.
Look, I wanted it to be the same. I didn't want us to have a bunch of different usernames.
Oh,
Okay.
I am not dogging it whatsoever. I'm just saying because we always say, remember, there is no A in wars. It's very important. Don't forget it. But like it's I always get confused when we say that. I'm like, but there is an A in war. But that's not what you mean. It's the actual email that you're talking about. So it is starwarsalliance@gmail.com.
I don't know if you spelled that right, but I'm too lazy to.
I was reading it from the thing. It's right there. Like I hope I got it right. Jeez, Louise.
I
Again,
think
it's late, so who knows?
I got mom brain and it's late. Like, what? I'm so tired. But y'all, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.